Hi, I'm Nancy, and you're watching my Fibery podcast where I talk about knitting, crochet, yarn dyeing, and some sewing all along Stony Creek. Hi, I'm Nancy with Stony Creek Yarn, and welcome back to my podcast. This is the second time I've taped this. So now I have a little wine with a little ice in it. No judgment, it's cheap wine. But my dear friends is like, boxed wine. Hi, welcome to Along Stony Creek, my Fibery podcast with knitting, no sewing this week, crochet, some yarn dyeing, and oh dear, a cat on the table who you can't see, but there's her tail. Yep, and hair came off. That's the reason she's not allowed in the dye studio. And oh, my trip to Putin Bay this week. The animals are being a little clingy since I've come back. I came back on Wednesday. It's Friday the 14th. So, Joyeux 14 Juillet. I know I just pronounced that with the worst accent ever, but happy Independence Day, France. So, I just got back from a trip and I have a yarn order for a yarn store due. And so I am going to talk about not my current knitting because I haven't hardly done yang. I'll talk about what I have gotten done. There is nothing off the needles. If you came because I usually have something off the needles, the cat keeps jumping up on the table. Her food is here. And now you're going to hear her crunching. Hope. I should tell you who I am. My name is Nancy, and I live in Monroe, Michigan. I live in the Lower Peninsula, right here in Monroe, Michigan, which is 28 miles south of Detroit, 28 miles north of Toledo, 40 minutes to the Jet Express at Putin Bay, or at Port Clinton to go to Putin Bay, and 68 minutes to go to Catawba Island for the Miller Ferry. I'm also 28 miles south of Detroit, 28 miles southeast of my two adult children who, well, they're all adults, but the two more adult ones live in Ann Arbor. I live here with my child, Hearn, my two cats, Kit and Hope, and my rats, Pip, Pop, and Bear, along with my dog, Zool, and for a precious few more days with my very youngest son, Gerald. My two youngest children are on the autism spectrum, and Gerald is going to an independent living facility to learn how to live independently. And I just realized, because they can have limited outside interaction, I mean, we can see him, but not as much as we'd like. I may not see that kid until my birthday or after. And that has just changed my birthday plans this year. I was planning to go to Washington, D.C. for a week and really kind of see everything. And I can't leave my child, Hearn, who is 20 but is on the autism spectrum, further down by themselves. So we are now planning a birthday trip for the two of us, and I am hoping to bring one of my friends along who is out of state. I'm contacting the two that I'm thinking about in the next couple of days. I think they would have a really good time because we are going to Traverse City, I think. I'm pretty sure there's a lot to do up there. There's Sleeping Bear Dunes. Even in December, it's freaking gorgeous. There are wineries. There is the scenery is tremendous. There's fun things to look at. So Traverse City is a nice alternative. I think Chicago's a bit much for Herney Roo. Herney Roo is Hearn's nickname. I think Chicago's a bit much for me in December with all the shoppers and the things going on. So I'm thinking Traverse City would be a nice alternative. Although the last time I went to Traverse City for my birthday, there was a storm and I got stuck there 3 extra days. Rats, except Traverse City is one of my favorite getaway places in the state of Michigan. Actually, there are a lot of favorite getaway places in the state of Michigan, but it's kind of nice year-round. They have things going on year-round. And it's only a 4-hour drive. So I got back from Putin Bay. So now we've gone from Michigan to talking about Ohio in northeast in northern Ohio, in the middle of Lake Michigan, less than an hour from Toledo. There are islands. There are 138 islands in Lake Erie. These happen to be in the United States. In fact, the largest island in the United States is there. It's in Lake Erie. It's Kelly's Island. That's not where I went. I went to South Bass Island, and we'll talk about that near the end of the podcast. The first thing I'd like to talk about before we go any further is winners of my comment contest. I have a monthly comment contest. If you leave a comment in the month that the month and the year that the video is put up, this is July of 2023, put up a comment in July 2023 under my July 2023 videos, you can be eligible to win a prize. Last month's prize was a skein of my Skateland with a small mini skein of a hot pink and a green to go with it. I like this set. I like it a lot. And that winner is Maria Villegas, Villegas 4218. My pronunciation's no better in any language when presented with a new word. Sometimes it's hard. Anyway, you won this. If you've already sent me an email, I apologize. The email, just send me an email, Nancy@stonycreekyarn.com. There's no E in Stony. It's all in the more bar. In fact, every kind of way you can possibly get a hold of me and everything I talk about, click more and more again, and it's all there with links this week. I think there are links to everything this week. I'm not 100% sure, but I went through and I've been pretty careful. July, if there's a comment contest every single month, there must be one in July, and of course there is. This is my colorophobia colorway. My cousin Bob is a clown. I happen to have colorophobia, which is fear of clowns. So this is a joke yarn colorway, which I think is very beautiful and looks nothing like the red, orange, and yellow he wears, because that just freaks me out. It's so clown. Bob went to clown school in Germany too. If you'd like to win this skein of yarn, leave a comment on this video or any of the videos in the month I put up in July of 2023, and you will be entered automatically to win. I hope I explained that well. When I sometimes mess up and I have to tape twice, and let's just be honest, I have to tape twice a lot. Last time I had to get up in the middle and get something and come back here. I don't want to edit that. That was a weird thing. And then I said something weird. You know how it goes. I don't want to be perfect, but I want it to be conversational, but I don't want to sound like a complete doofus Jones. No offense to anyone who happens to be named Doofus and Jones at the same time. So let's talk about where I stand. Now, I was going to Putin Bay, which is on South Bass Island in Ohio, for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this past week. And I went and I had a lovely time. I was completely boneless, and we'll talk about that at the end. I was relaxed. It was relaxing. And I don't normally, my ADHD does not allow me to relax. So it was kind of an unusual vacation. So while I was gone, before I left, I was working on, and we talked about this last week, my mini skein infinity scarf by Julianne Cole, $1.99 Australian in Ravelry. It's a very bright colored one. In fact, I'm not sure that this one goes as well as the others, but the nice thing about this infinity scarf is I can wrap it and turn it. So this can face front sometimes, and this can face front when I'm feeling a little cake poppy, and when I'm feeling a little bearded iris. I have this. I have about, I was going to say 6 grams left. I haven't weighed this out yet. I can't find my jeweler's scale, which is problematic right now, but I put it someplace I wouldn't lose it. Have you ever done that? You put something where you won't absolutely know you will not lose it. That is probably in the dye studio on the shelf. And then you look for it and it's nowhere to be found. Well, this is the problem I have with this. Anyway, bearded iris. I was going to close it up right here, but this is a bluey purple and this is a reddish purple, and I wanted something that was more transitional. So I used to dye a colorway called Astonish, which is this. And I don't dye it anymore because it's a colorway that is, other people do it better. That's just the blunt truth. Other people do this colorway better. It's a fairly basic colorway, but some of the people that do it really, really well, and that's not me. It's not my ballywick. It's not my thing. So I'm just going to use this, and I'm not going to do this colorway anymore. Actually, it's been retired for about 6 years, but it's the perfect sort of fill-in for, if you look from here, here to here. I think it's a really good fill-in, and it's a good transition because there's pink in this and there's blue in this, and just moves between the two. I think it will do that well. I am not knitting this to pattern, as I've mentioned many times. I'm doing this garter style, but don't you worry, because next up my needles, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to follow a pattern. I know, it's cool. Actually, I do. And when I show you my shawls today, you'll see that I do follow patterns. Then I've been working on my little, the only way I can deal with the Jerry moving out is I'm turning his room into an office. Now, I have full permission from Jerry to do this. Jerry doesn't intend to move home, although things happen. I have a fully finished basement that is really big, and I really don't use the whole thing. I really don't. Half of it it's the same size as the upstairs. The house is 1,250 square feet. Yes, it's a small house, comparatively speaking, in the United States. I understand. But it's fairly large compared to some other countries. So everything is relative. But I've decided that, if he wants to move back, he can have that side of the basement with the fireplace. And I don't need a family room so much because my family is mostly not living here. And I will keep Jerry's bedroom, and that's perfectly fine with Gerald. I'm moving that's going to be my business office. I love my dye studio. Right now, it's really hot out there. I dye first thing in the morning. All my yarn that I'm dyeing for this upcoming local yarn store is going to be dyed. Well, the Skatelin's already dyed. It's been dyed. I just happen to have it in back stock, but the other colorways are unique to this local yarn store. So I'm going to have to dye first thing in the morning, but I don't like being out there doing paperwork. So I figured Jerry's room is perfect. It's an area of the house I can have it just be an office. All it has to be. It can hold all of my shawls, all of my knitting, everything that I do. I can do all my paperwork in there. I have a glass L-shaped desk that will work in there perfectly. I have my skeiner, my reskeiner, my skein twister, my skein minder, and my automatic ball winder, which all will go in there. And I'll make mini skeins and stuff in there, and that's how I will work from now on. And I do have the purple love seats. I will be taping in there as soon as I get the room completely bleached out and hosed down. Jerry spent from 14 to 18 and a half in that room. That's all I've got to say about that. Some boys are messier than other boys, and this particular one, my messiest kid. Besides, it's no secret that Jerry's my messiest kid. He fully knows that. Her has everything organized and neat and tidy and little all together, and then Jerry. So I've been working my blanket for the back of it's not purple. I say purple love seat. It's actually plum. It's a very deep plum, almost a brownish plum. It's really pretty. And it just didn't go in my living room, but I didn't want to get rid of it. So I kept that and the couch that went with it for someday. So this is someday, at least for some of it. So this is how far I've gotten in my little blanket. I'm just using a V-stitch, a very simple V-stitch in half double crochet. So far, so good. Everything is coming out nice and even. I've embraced sometimes you finish a row and then you start on the other side instead of you must start on the same side of it, because I was losing a row of the 20-gram mini skeins every time I did it. And I don't like getting rid of yarn or having to make it into a magic ball. So this is just my Hern Blue. This is just undyed yarn, Araucana eggs. This is one of the ones going to the yarn store, Blizzards and Beaches. And I'm going to find out if I can sell it around Christmas time, if she's only using it for a yarn crawl. I will find out if I'm allowed to have it back or not. Some yarn store owners let you do that, or happy to, and some are a little hesitant, and some say absolutely that that's ours, and that's fine. There's no shame or shade in that. But I'm crocheting, and I'm crocheting considering I'm using a very small hook, and I haven't figured out what size it is because I chew on the ends of my plastic hooks. Don't ever borrow my plastic crochet hooks. You don't want to touch these. Anyway, so it was a habit I tried to get over in COVID and just never managed to. So pika pika, little pika going on. I really do have, I mean, as a kid I had pika bad. I don't have it bad anymore. Anyway, I'm very pleased with the way it's coming out. A little stripe. I don't know what color I'm using after the crystal pink. This is the crystal pink, and I imagine it's going to show up more than once because I have so much of it, or I'll just sneak it and make socks out of it and use something else. But I'll find something to stick in here. That I have so many little bits and bobs that it's not a problem, even if it's 2 rows. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's going in my office. It's going to keep my lap warm in my space, which is perfect. Someday, I'd like to get another, I used to have a trailer. I'd like to get another trailer, travel trailer, and do some traveling, and I can put this in there. I have very much been influenced by Knitty Natalie of Love and Stitches, who is now going to go van lifing with her husband. I have no business in the world. I forgot my sock. I have no business in the world van lifing. None. But I will travel trailer lifing. I don't know. I'll be right back. Where would I go in a travel trailer? Right, I can pull it and it's nice and reasonably sized. Anywhere I can drive. I mean, you know, it's a big country. It's a big country to the north of us and a big country to the south of us. So speaking of Natalie and Knitty Natty, there's my segue. It is sock week from last, I'm going to say it was the 7th. Do not be upset if it was the 8th. The 7th or the 8th at midnight, you could cast on a sock, and you have to have it done by this Sunday. What is this Sunday? This is the 14th. So the 15th is Saturday. So it's Sunday the 16th. At midnight, your sock must be finished. And I'm on the foot, so it will be. This is why I said one sock. I'm making one sock. I often make one sock for my displays of my colorways. It's the same reason they only put out one shoe in a store. People steal socks. I know. They will walk up to a display where somebody hand knit these socks and they work their booties off to do it, or their socks off, and they will take a pair of socks. And it's never happened to me, but it's happened to dyers that I know. So now when I want to knit for a display, I knit one sock, and this is my Skateland colorway. Knit up into most of a sock for my sock week project, and you're allowed to have, and there are prizes, so if you get on it and you knit a sock real fast, there are prizes for finished socks, and one sock is a finished item. So what a perfect way to knit for sock week. I can knit one sock. Then I will have enough of this left over to knit myself a shorty pair of socks, and I've already pulled contrasting colors for it. Next for my pair of socks. This is not my sock because I have another pair of socks. My Ore Carrier socks need to be finished after this. So I will finish this up tomorrow, weave in the ends on Sunday in between dyeing for this order, which came in yesterday. I think I said the order from the local yarn store came in yesterday, and I have to have it to them. I had a week. She gave me a week, which she said, is it possible? I'm like, it's okay. Right now it's okay. Now it's summer. If this was fall, maybe not. But right now we're good. We're good. And this is one of the colorways she ordered. So I thought I would just knit this up. And if she wanted to borrow it for her display, she could. And I will gift her, and I always gift a yarn store owner with their first order, their first decent size order. I have a mental limit. I will gift them a skein of yarn. I've got to be making enough money on the deal for it to be worth it. So I thought that I would also gift the yarn store owner, who magpied right to this, a skein of yarn and a couple of the minis, and she could keep them and knit them herself and not have to snitch from herself, because I know she really, really liked this colorway. So yay. So I'll have enough left over to make a pair. And if I get completely sick of it, I'm sure I can find someone to do a trade with. Oh, yarn store owner. Oh, before I forget, Laura, yesterday when she put her order in, I wrote back, I'm like, by any odd chance, have you knit the twists and turns shawl? Because I was going to go last week, and then things got busy and I was packing. And she said, well, I'm knitting the twists and turns shawl. I mean, I passed the part with the short rows and the stripes on the side. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. I am stuck at section 2. You're done with section 2? She's like, I just finished it. Can I have a few minutes of your time next Thursday when I drop off the yarn? Sure, great. I am going to get my twists and turns done because I read through all the other instructions and I understand everything but where I am messing up. Everything clicks except where I'm messing up. And I'm looking at these shawls over here and I'm like, you've knit so many shawls. Oh, shawls. What are we going to talk about today? I'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm super happy that the twists and turns is going to be finished. And I imagine that once I figure that section out, so I don't forget it again, I am going to power through that shawl and do that for 2 weeks and then go back to fixing and working on everything else. Because when I get my infinity scarf off the needles, I have gathered these together. Remember I said I'm not really thrilled with the way one of the colors is looking in the infinity scarf? No, I could rip it back, but it's just a casual little 20-gram mini skein scarf. So I started pulling out colorways that I could put into another mini skein scarf, but then I could put something in the middle, and I just made an executive decision. This one's not going in. I could put a colorway in the middle that would sort of do a 20-gram skein, do 20 grams of a semi-solid or tonal color, or another colorway that would complement, and then another 20 grams. So what I have picked out is, this is Ore Carrier. I've shown it before. It's my most difficult colorway. It's 11 steps. It's all resist twisting with the hot water gloves on and a pair of gloves underneath them so my hands really don't get hot. I love the way the colorway looks. It's not my favorite to dye, but it's worth it. So then I grabbed, I have this little blue here, which is part of a shawl that I think I'm going to show you today. And then I have, I think this is Poplar. No, that's Sea Breeze. Yeah. And this one is Silver Sage. And then, yeah, I don't do that anymore. I feel like Martin Short on Father the Bride. And no, this we do not do. And then I have a Barn Owl and Bunnies in the Garden. Barn Owl has been knit into a small sample, which is why it is tinier than the rest. So I figure if I could juggle, no, and I can't. No juggling here. You know, I mean, I can just see it with this kind of greenish gray in between each one of these. And this time I'm going to knit it in stockinette. I thought about doing something with the mini skeins and crochet, but I think crocheting that blanket is probably where I need to put my crochet in hand, as it were. The reaching, I call it twist, reach, grab. I don't know if that's even the right way to crochet, but it's twist the yarn around, stiff it through, grab it, pull the loops through. I mean, stiff it through, stick it through. So that's all the knitting, and that's not enough knitting, is it? So I thought I would get out, not my favorite shawls, not all my shawls, because I just grabbed some. Here they are. And the one I didn't grab was my hitchhiker shawl, which I love. And it's in a contained box in the basement for winter because I love it so much. I never want anything to happen to it. So I put it away and wash it, dry it real good, put some of those dehydrator things in and put it in a box with some other shawls. So these are the shawls I just have out for spring and summer wear. And no one really should wear a shawl in spring or summer, but bonfires happen and air conditioning certainly happens. So these are not in any particular order. I'm just going to talk about what I liked about them and what I liked knitting about them. And they're all knit. And any changes I might have made. And if I can remember the colorways, I'll share those. But in some cases, they're in my Ravelry notes. In some cases, these shawls didn't even make it into my Ravelry notes. And no, not all the colorways are mine. Hey. So let's start out with Stephen West. All right, this is the Glacial Sweep shawl. It is supposed to be done on Aran yarn. I had 2 skeins of Some Summer Sky from Dream and Color Smooshy with cashmere. It really helps if I make sure that you see the correct side. Yes. And I made this. Now, because I made it on fingering yarn, it was sluggy, very sluggy, I must say. But it was a really fun textured knit. I love the texture. It's tons of slip stitches and yarn overs, and it's got this little ruffly effect to it. And I just love this shawl. I like it so much that I want to knit it in the proper Aran weight. Now, I do not dye Aran weight. I have 3 skeins of Aran weight in like a aqua color from Cascade, but I don't know if I want to, I don't know if that's enough. And I'm not sure I do want to do it in Aran weight. I think I might want to do this shawl in like a Decay light worsted, which again, it can be a bit schloggy because of all the slip stitches. Slip stitches do take more time, they take more yarn. In fact, this is one of the few projects I've ever played complete yarn chicken with. I mean, I was chickeny bucking. It was a little scary there because I wanted to get the number of, it's on the bottom, it's got this wonderful garter stitch, which just gives it the most delicious sort of a drape and feel. 10 out of 10 would knit again on larger yarn. I don't know what possessed me to do it on fingering weight yarn. At the time, I didn't think it would be that difficult. I was fairly new knitter back then too. The things we get ourselves into when we're new knitters and we're convinced that it's a yarn over and maybe a slip knit and knit 2 together and make one and left and make one right, and you can do it, and you absolutely can. But it was a little bit, there are some swears in this shawl. There are some heavy duty swears in this shawl, but I do love every bit of it, and I love the color with it. It's not like anything I dye, and it's just really fun, and I love it. And really suggest it, but do suggest it on maybe not Aran weight yarn. I don't know. I think a shawl on Aran weight yarn would be really bulky for me. I have very narrow shoulders. Although I'm getting off this medication that put weight on me, and I'm fighting every pound. I think it's my age, but it's all coming off. I am determined. It's a very pretty shawl with a very pretty shape, and it's architectural, but it's also kind of feels like, the reason I did it blue is it kind of felt like blue with the turquoise. It kind of felt like the sea. I just really love everything about this shawl. And it just fits around my neck just so perfectly. Or you can do this and pop a shawl pin on over a white shirt with the collar peeking out, or even over a turtleneck. Looks great. It can be a statement piece. I believe shawls should be worn as statement pieces, not just as keep me warm. It's just a personal opinion of mine. I'm tossing them on the chair over there. And I'm going to try to do it in order of designer, although I may get out of phase. There are only 6 shawls that were done by multiple designers, which is not to say that all the shawls I'm going to show you are all my Stephen West shawls. I have several more in the box, which I'll bring out later some other time. This is my first yarn love, and I did knit this shawl differently, of course. I did, this is supposed to be make ones in the middle, and I did yarn overs. Because again, fairly new to knitting at that time. And it was my first experience with twisted rib, and it went out in rays, and it on the sides, it does this. So neat. This shawl is so convenient. It drapes so beautifully. Now, I did this on Madeline Tosh Pashmina, which is a sport weight yarn. It doesn't call for sport weight. It calls for fingering, I believe. But I was really into Pashmina at the time. Pashmina is merino, silk, and cashmere, and I was really, really into Pashmina. I still would be. If I wasn't dyeing yarn, I would be spending all my money on Pashmina and knitting all the things of a sport weight yarn that was like this. I think it's merino, silk, and cashmere. I will double check and let you know in the notes, in the bubbly notes, the notes I pop up. I don't put the notes up, little pop-ups on the screen. I put them in my own text. I do not remember the colorway. I know now Madeline Tosh, I believe, was bought by Jimmy Bean's Wool. And I don't know how many of the colorways that they kept the rights to. I mean, when you sell your yarn business, you're selling your equipment, you're selling your intellectual property as well. And some companies sell their entire catalog and some do not. I don't know what was sold to Jimmy Bean's, and that's quite frankly none of my business. I just have to look for the pretty yarn when I have money to buy the pretty yarn with. Oh, and you bet when this yarn store order comes in, I'm buying a skein. I have a skein already picked out. I have a skein of yarn already picked out. That's my treat for myself. It's not food because I'm trying to get this stupid weight off. Stupid pill. Anyway, I like the reverse stockinette. I love the not reverse stockinette, the twisted stitches, the stockinette. This was it wasn't a quick knit, but Stephen's instructions, the only shawl I've ever had a problem with a Stephen West shawl is the twists and turns. And again, that's me. I'm the one reading it wrong. I know I am, because everybody else got it right. It's got to be just me. So I'll figure out what I'm doing. But the instructions in this were very easy, made it a little bigger, and never regretted for a second knitting this shawl. There was no point where I was knitting this. It does finish off with, I don't know how it finishes off. I finished it off with garter stitch. It could be I-cord, knowing Stephen West. I don't know if he was totally doing the I-cord thing back then or not, but I decided to do a few rows of garter stitch. I think there are 3 rows of garter stitch on the back, around the bottom. It is not particularly my color, but it is incredibly warm and very lightweight for the level of warmth. And it's a real good sitting on the porch drinking coffee shawl, I have to say. It really, really is. This is one of my perfect sitting on the porch drinking coffee shawls in the morning. Because if it drops down behind me, I don't feel, even though the yarn is precious to me, it doesn't feel like a precious shawl. You know what I mean? It's not, I mean, it's got everything I like. It's architectural. It's pretty. Last we come to my, and I believe I've shown you this before, this is my Dotted Rays Speckle Fade. This is my ultimate sitting by the fire knitting. Although if my kid moves back home and takes the basement, there goes my fireplace. Along the lake here, because there is a possibility of flood, even though I'm technically out of flood zone, none of the basements are heated or air conditioned. Now, they're cool because it's a basement, but there's no heat. I have a fireplace down there and a couple of space heaters, but it gets pretty, fireplace makes it so toasty, it almost makes it unbearable. So we have to turn on and off, as it were. I did leave the names of all the colorways on my project page, but I'm going to link you to the shawl, not my project page. I will link you to my Ravelry self, and you can find the project view. Now I know what colorways these are, because I don't remember all the colorways off the top of my head. Some of these are older colorways. Although I know I started dyeing this before. I started dyeing these after I moved in here. I don't have any colorways that old in here. So they're less than 4.5 years old. And I faded this one, not up here. The same thing to this, I'm doing the one I'm doing now. I forgot to fade the first one. I'm going to fade the second. It just seems to be a thing with me. I just forget that I'm supposed to fade it. And I don't mind stripes. But you have this section here, and then you can see, oh no, I have to start fading, and then I did. But you know, it's recipe. It's not a, you must do this or this. If you want exactly what the pictures look like, you must do that or that, if that's not as important to you. So those are my Stephen West patterns. Now we're going to get into Kristen Lair from Voolenvine, who makes some beautiful patterns. She did a shawl called Stoker, and I think I have that, except I want to do it out of my cast iron colorway, and it's black, and I'm a little nervous knitting a shawl in black, although she did it, but she's a much more accomplished knitter than I am and has been knitting for far longer than I have. I found her channel when it had been around for a couple of years before she started dyeing yarn. This is her Greetings from Poang shawl. It has been made larger because it's what I do. It is the perfect shawl. This is my butterfly dance colorway, just because I thought it looked like butterflies dancing on flowers, not because it looked like butterflies. And I like about it is it's such a deep triangle that I can have it like this, and then just toss this part over my shoulders, and it's a little warmer. Does that make sense when you put it in half? So it's my ultimate sort of pack it up, put it in a purse, and oh, your air conditioning is on 3,000 degrees Kelvin negative. Here, we'll just do this. Obviously, no air conditioners at 3,000 Kelvin negative Kelvin. I said I meant Kelvin. I meant negative Kelvin, not Kelvin negative. You know what I mean. So I love this shawl. I love everything about it. I love the way the lace flows. I love the way it flows to the bottom. And I love it so much, I have now knit 3 of them. And my other one is done in Madeline Tosh Pashmina in the Dahlia colorway, which is also no longer made. But it is in the box because it's a little heavy because it's Pashmina. But I keep this folded and stiffed in purses almost all summer long, because when there's air conditioning, this is my go-to. And there's not too much I wear in the summer that I can't make work with this, except my red dress, and then I'm not going to worry about it if I'm that cold. I don't care. So another Greetings from Poang, but this time I took her Vildes Mare pattern, and I did the Vildes Mare along the bottom and the Greetings from Poang on the top. And so you have a hybrid, sort of. I mean, the Vildes Mare part is actually pretty small down here. But I wanted the pattern of the shawl with the edging of the Vildes Mare. This is also Madeline Tosh Pashmina. This is in Sugar Plum. And again, I don't believe that they dye this colorway anymore. And if they do, I will correct myself. I'm leaving a link to the Loopy U they carry, Madeline Tosh. In almost all. So does Jimmy Bean's wool, though. Should leave it. I'm leaving a link to Jimmy Bean's. Anyway. And the Loopy U, because a lot of my bags came from there. And I talk about them, so I should leave them links. I'm also leaving a link to Nitpicky and Hooked, my local yarn store that is going to be carrying my yarn. I don't know if they're going to make my yarn available on their website or not. I have to ask her, and I'll have to stick it in next week. I won't know until I deliver the yarn. I think it's beautiful. It's the same gorgeous, gorgeous lace pattern, but just the edging gives it just something a little bit extra. And I wanted something that she had designed for the edging. I just didn't want to take something else and make it work. So that worked. It actually worked out really, really well. I'm not even sure. I mean, I can't believe how well it worked out. It just ended in the perfect spot and everything. And my last Woolen Vine creation, her pattern, my work, is, I gotta decide which the front is on this because it can go either way. This is my Half Moon Oracle shawl. Now I own the Oracle pattern for the full pie shawl, and it's being cast on, but not till next Pie Day. 3314. And the reason is because I have a full queue until Pie Day, and I'm already sticking a couple things in there that I have no business sticking in there. But I want to knit my queue this year. This is the year I knit my queue. But if I don't get it all done, I'm going to knit most of it. I like the combination of the lace, the brioche, 2 areas of brioche. These are all my colorways, and these are all Christmas colorways. Sugar Plum, Festivus, Frozen. All Christmassy colorways. I know this is, except for this is Hail. It's got little pops of gold and blue running through it for University of Michigan. I think you can see it better on that side. But I like it because it's reversible, and it's pretty, and it's festive, and it says, ooh, winter. It could be winter. Or, ooh, summer. It could be around a fire in the summer. It actually, a Half Moon pie fits really nicely. Just settled over the shoulders and elegant. I think it's elegant, okay? I think this is a really elegant, beautiful shawl. I think Kristen designs beautiful, elegant patterns. And these aren't all my all-time favorite designers either. I have stacks of lists of them. I have lists of favorite designers. This just happens to be the shawls I grabbed. The ones I have on hand right now. Now we leave the land of one designer per 3 shawls, and we go into one designer per shawl. This is Trillion by Martina Baim, and I want to do it the right way because this bottom edge is so cool looking. I did something up the side there. I don't know what it was, but the bottom edge is so cool looking, and I've never blocked this shawl, and again, this is Madeline Tosh Pashmina. I've never blocked this shawl because it's so warm the way it is. It's a complete scarf effect. I mean, I can do this and all the way around several times, and just, it's very long, as you can see. Goes all the way to there. There's something about this shawl that is very soothing to knit. It's gartered, but you have stuff to do at the bottom when you get to the bottom, and you knit one long slinky triangle, and then you whoop up this side. And I don't know how I got a bobbly book in there. What these little garter things drive me crazy, when the garter stitch gets pulled, because then I have to really mess with it, and I don't have the time right now. Obviously, I'm talking to you and not doing that. I don't remember the name of the colorway, but you know what? If you look at this, is anyone surprised at the colors I dye when you start looking at the things that I gravitate towards the natural colors. Natural looking colors, not natural. These are not natural dyes. They are acid dyes. I was once told by somebody at a store which dyes Madeline Tosh uses, but I'm not sure that that's true anymore. So I'm not going to say anything. But I was told by somebody at a store once, like knowledgeable. I don't know how they knew. Anyway. The next one is Very Busy Monkey's Window Pane Check Shawl. I love the crescent shape of this shawl so much. I am not as happy with the color. This is one of my, this is an old colorway. This was me, you wanna know how old this is? This is literally me butzing around before I even started dyeing yarn professionally. So this is at least 2009, maybe. I could look it up. I didn't finish it for a while. I put it on the needles and I dickered around with it probably for a couple of years. But if I did get it off the needles, I very rarely let things go and give up. That's not like me. Hence my twists and turns. I will make it work. I like the checks. I like the simplicity. I like the garter swish of it all. I do, I love garter stitch. The last shawl I'm going to show you is also garter stitch. I don't just love garter stitch. These shawls, just because I think garter is more casual. It's very textural. It feels casual to me. A couple of these weren't, obviously. The Herbivore and Woolen Vines patterns were not garter stitch. But I like the garter squishy squish, and I like the casualness of it. This does not look precious. It looks like it's a shawl that I could toss over anything. And again, what don't I like about the colorway? I don't think it's saturated enough. I don't like to oversaturate colorways. I don't like deeply overly saturated colorways. I don't. But I like my colorways to be a little bit more saturated. And I know what dyes I used on this. I used Frozen Blue from Dharma and Mountain Aqua, which is this is how old this is. Mountain Aqua, which is a dye that comes pre-leveled. It's One Shot by Prochem. I used to use a lot of One Shot dyes because I was really nervous and I wanted to make sure there was enough acid in the water. I don't anymore. I've got maybe that much Mountain Aqua left and that much China Jade, and then other than that, I don't really carry it. Except for one colorway, I do use Bluebonnet, but that's neither here nor there. But this is an old colorway, but this is not an old shawl. I don't think I finished the shawl. I'll have to look on Ravelry, but I'm pretty sure I finished it. I started it well before the move here 4.5 years ago, and I finished it last year. I'm pretty sure. I actually didn't knit during part of COVID, and you'd think that I would have. But I got, pretty depressed during COVID. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a couple of friends to COVID. And then I lost friends they just moved away. And then I lost friends who had different ideologies than I do. And not for my choice, but they chose that they didn't have the same ideologies. And we're just going to leave it at that. We're going to leave it at that. Let's just say my job means I know what to do with these. And that's all we're going to say about that. Anyway, my last shawl I want to show you today, I have knit twice. And I've not knit it right either time. Both times I knit it. I did a make one in the center instead until I got to the lace part. Then I started doing yarn overs. I knit front back, not make one. You're supposed to make one, and I knit front back. I knit this in a gray. This is by Maria Monska, by the way. I knit this in a gray sweatshirt colored MCN that I dyed up right at probably within a year of starting dyeing. And it's pilled. I've worn it so much, it's pilled to death. I can unpill it, but it's another one of those coffee. It's coffee on the deck where no one can see me because I have a privacy fence, as opposed to coffee on the porch where all the neighbors do this. How's that? So this is the Lattice shawl by Maria Monska. I love this shawl. This shawl is the perfect, it's spring, and there's a spill on this. I'm going to have to soak it in today. Rats. It's the perfect spring. It's February and I need an injection of color. Let's go shawl. And it's always, when I start switching to this, I'm ready for warmer weather. When I start grabbing this and going, and when I put this away and don't wear it anymore, it's getting chilly out. It's made out of a combination of it's 50-50 silk wool yarn. Has a decent luster to it from the silk. And and this is my Cherry Blossom Rain colorway, but it's not, because I've since added more of this blue, so it's not so scattered, and a little bit more green, so it looks a little bit more like flowers in the field, like a cherry blossom rain. Like a cherry blossom rain onto a field of purple flowers. I think it's garter. The whole thing is garter. You do pick up and knit the border, but it is not a difficult knit. It is an engaging knit. It is engaging because you're always yarn overing. You're doing something. Every other row you're doing something. Obviously, relief row you're just knitting on the back side. I just love this shawl. Will I knit another one? Absolutely. I just can't decide what colorway I really want it knit in. I've seriously thought about knitting this up in my Bearded Iris colorway. Although I've got it in something I'm knitting now, I kind of want a whole shawl in Bearded Iris. And this time, I promise, I'll do the make ones. That noise you just heard, if you heard a noise, is my rat itching himself. And I didn't know they could itch that loudly. What's wrong, buddy? You got itches? We got no bugs in here. Just an itch. Just a generalized sort of an itchiness. So that's it for all of my shawls. I don't know if you can hear that. It'd be so funny. So I want to talk about my trip to Putin Bay and how I didn't knit. I left on Sunday, and I had never been before. It is sort of known as a party town in the middle of Lake Erie, except it's very quiet Sunday through Thursday. Very quiet. And this year they said it's more quiet than it's been, and it probably is something to do with the economy. That's the general consensus of everyone on the island. I stayed at Bay Lodging, which was kind of an off the beaten path hotel. It was clean. It was nice. It was not, I was only in the room at night. Just kind of think of it as a cruise. I spent most of the day, I had all this stuff planned. I was going to do all the things. I was going to go all the places. I was going to film everything. And then I laid out in the sun for a while, and I became completely boneless. I don't know how else to describe it. I do not relax well. I do not relax well. I don't sleep in. I don't relax. This is not something I do. I have ADHD. My brain is constantly going, whir, 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 whir. And I understand that's part of the deal. But for some reason there, I didn't have my tablet. I had my phone in airplane mode a good chunk of the 3 days. I was just relaxed. I mean, there were people by the pool. There was one guy there the first day, Sunday, Cannonball. He has a name. I'm not going to name him because, that would be rude. But he was getting his drink on pretty seriously, and he earned the name Cannonball. I got rather damp several times, and that water was not warm. But we also I ran into this group of people, there was a couple, two guys together. They were married and they were celebrating their anniversary. And then these two lovely ladies that were with them, they were just good friends. And these ladies had known each other since like kindergarten. So they would sit there and it was like they finished each other's sentences and they're just buddies, they're just really close friends. And it was just hysterical to watch. They were so nice, so kind, so welcoming. Went out of the way to ask what I was crocheting because I was working on my sock, and I said, no, I'm knitting and I'm a yarn there. You dyed that? That's something that people that don't dye yarn or don't work with yarn are always like, wait, you can do that? You don't have to go to the store and buy it. It's kind of it's a fun revelation to have. There's a place called the Boardwalk, and every day I would go up there. They always had Monday through Friday, they have a drink. Monday through Thursday. Hello, Kit Kit, what's wrong? No, I'm sorry, Kit Kit. Come here. Say hi to the people, Kit Kit. Come here. No, you're not going to do it? Okay. So, just coming back this way. So, hi, Kit Kit. Say hello. Say hi to the people. No, I don't think so, Mother. Oh, sweet girl. Oh man, and that's why, right, Air Girlfriend, that shed you just did on me. Yeah, for all you want. That's the reason you don't go out in the garage in your dye studio, and won't be coming in my office. End of story. You're beautiful though. So there was a place called the Boardwalk, which kind of goes out into the water. So you can have water on three sides of you. You can sit up there with a margarita and just watch water and really, really expensive looking boats. Some of these boats, oh my goodness, look so expensive. It was, I just don't know how you afford the gas for something like that. It was pretty funny. She's really got to be right here. She's really, can't you eat your food like over there or something? Her tail on my hand. And then they talk about the foodie trail and it being for foodies, and it was good food. I didn't have a bad meal. That's actually not true, but I don't want to talk about that experience. Just was a night they were busy and they didn't get the burrito melted. These things sometimes happen. There's a place there at the Boardwalk that does a lobster bisque, though. They do fresh lobster. They do it all day long, and it literally was the best lobster bisque I'd ever had. I mean, literally, the lobster is in the bisque like that, and it's just fantastic. Other than that, the food was good. I like the food in Traverse City better, but then again, the prices in Traverse City are a lot higher, although the prices on the island were sort of eye-opening because they have to bring everything over on a boat. You can get there two ways. You can either leave from Port Clinton, Ohio, which is in central northern Ohio, east of Toledo, by about 30 minutes. Or you can leave from Miller Ferry, which leaves something called Catawba Island. Yes, and you're done. Yes, you are. I'm afraid so. Leaves from Catawba Island. It's a slower ferry, but it carries all the boats, all the cars, everything. I did not rent a golf cart. I just walked everywhere. It's a very walkable island. The whole thing is like less than 4 miles long and less than 2 miles across. There isn't anything you can't get to in half a mile except the ferry dock, and then you go in a taxi, which costs you $4 plus $1 tip to get to your hotel. So it's very easy to get around, and the whole little town itself is all in the north. There are two wineries if you like Cabernets or sweet whites. They're Heinemann's Winery and Putin Bay Winery are excellent. I don't happen to like either one of those wines, so I didn't go to a winery. I went to one. I went to the first one and realized the whole island was like that. No, this isn't for me, but it was a lovely experience. And the people there were very nice. And the people were very, very nice, out of their way, kind, nice people. And, there's sort of a bit of you're on an island, we're all in this together. There were some parties Sunday. These things happen. I found, oh, the music, the one reason to go and really go is the live music is so good. And there's so many different kinds of live music because they have a large group of people. That come to the island that are my age and older. They play oldies because they have a large group of people on the island that are younger than me. They play all ages of music. It is very egalitarian. There's people there, all shapes, colors, and sizes, which was fantastic. I was thrilled, and of all sort of, you know, just all kinds of people of all different walks of life. It was really egalitarian, and I thought that was really interesting. The music, there was a group called Fiddle Faced, not to be confused with Fiddle Face. That's a different group. Fiddle Faced. I have a link to the singer and the guitar player's Facebook page listed. But the fiddle.
Now the devil opened up his case. He said, "I'll start the show," and fire flew from his fingertips. He roused above the bow.
The guy who played the violin. Turns out he's from Chicago. We lived in Chicago and we adopted our two oldest children. And he knows the two, there were only two judges that handled adoptions, and he knows both of the judges that handled our adoptions with our two children, including the judge who said, "Congratulations, you're a family." So I was holding my beautiful, beautiful son in my arms. So it's really nice to talk to him. He's a lawyer. He's a retired lawyer, and now he plays in a band. And he's very good. They played The Devil Went Down to Georgia, and it was super wonderful. I didn't hear bad music one time. I went to see them each day because I just happened to like the combination of 80s music with a fiddle. It just was really, it was really fun. I enjoyed myself. Will I go back? Absolutely next year. I understand the week after the 4th of July, Independence Day, it is very quiet. So that's my week. That's the week I'm going back next year. Although I'm not sure I'm going to stay in the same hotel. I'd like to say something a little closer to the beach with a little bit more lively pool, just not insanely lively, if you know what I mean. I mean, I can't party like it's 1999 anymore. I'm almost 60 and I don't party like it's 1999 anymore. It was just a delightful trip. It was a short drive from where I am. If you're in the Michigan, Northern Ohio, Western New York area, it is absolutely something to think about. And that's working for me. So that's all the news that's fit to print. They're now moving the rats are now moving one of their bowls of food around the cage for reasons I have yet to understand. I don't know why they do that. They have to rearrange every once in a while. So that's all the news that's fit to print. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking it out to the end with me. Please remember, Maria Villegas, 4218. Your prize waiting for you. Let me know. Also, don't forget to leave a comment on the video if you've been to Putin Bay or you have a suggestion of a place I could go around my birthday that isn't more than 4 hours away by car from southeastern Michigan. Let me know for sure. And Kit, you want to say thank you for watching? No, I don't want to do anything. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.